Hello, everyone. This is Apostle Babe Linda James, your favorite apostate. And it is July 26th, 2025. I'm going to look me up on my device so I can look at the chat while I'm talking with y'all. How has your week gone? Has it been pretty good? Have you been doing anything fun this week? Let me know in the chat. Let me know. Okay, so I found myself. Cool. And then I'm going to do this thing where I can see all of the chat. Okay. Hi, John. Hello, bro. And Rebecca Wise. Good to see you guys. And there's 5 of you out there. Thank you for being here. It's been a different week for me. It's just been one of those weeks where I'm just kind of like not just feeling a bit off kilter, just feeling a bit off kilter and just more secluding than anything, and sometimes you can do that, but just don't stay stuck in it. So I'm talking to myself as well because I tend to stay stuck in it. And that's not good. It's not good because I'll be in a place of secluding more and more and more, and not reaching out to people or receiving people reaching out to me. So sometimes I get in a mood where I'm not going to answer calls. I'm not going to listen to messages. I know it's totally irresponsible as an adult. I'm just admitting what I do. And I try not to stay in it. And I think it's I get overwhelmed. So that's just one of my things I do. I get overwhelmed. That's how I react. And when I notice it, I get out of it sooner. But it's easy to just for me, it's easy for me to stay stuck there. So I'm kind of telling on myself, if that makes sense, telling on myself and admitting, just admitting some of the stuff that I do that it's normal for me, but it's not normal. It's not normal, maybe. I don't know. We all have our things. We're growing in this journey of healing. And when we find ourselves doing things we're not exactly proud of, because I'm not proud of this. I don't like this about myself. So it's just hard to get out of it. So if I tell people, it helps me hold myself accountable to not stay stuck here, if this makes sense. It might be part of my depression. I'm not real clear. But yeah, it's good to see you guys. Dallas is in the house. Shack Composer, hello. Intrusive thoughts. Sometimes I do get like that. And this time around, I'm not intrusive. I know that do I get stuck in that? I can get stuck in intrusive thoughts super easily. This time, I haven't been. Thank you for asking, though. You can probably relate. Let's see here. I'm looking at the quality of my own picture, so I'm putting it on 720. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to next weekend. The next weekend is Stay Alive Until 75 with Rick Farron, and I'm not going to be able to be there. I'm super bummed, but at the same time, it is what it is, and I'm excited. about it. I'm going to be putting together a few videos for Rick, and maybe even a song. I might be sending him a song of me singing. So I am looking forward to that. Yes, you can relate. Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. It's a weird thing. It just, I don't always know what brings it on, and I'm just off kilter. You know what I'm saying? It's just, but I got to just keep going rather than whatever I'm having, whatever I'm being drawn towards, which is basically more isolation. Okay. And I don't think isolation is bad, at times. As a matter of fact, I think it's very, very healthy, especially if you are an introvert, right? So someone who's an introvert as opposed to an extrovert, someone who's an extrovert really needs to socialize with people, really needs to be out and about, okay? That's what fuels them, and gives them a great sense of well-being. Now, if you have someone who's an introvert, they need more time by themselves, and that fuels them, okay? So that's pretty normal for an introvert. But if you get an introvert and you're more of an extrovert and you say, come with me, and they do, okay, and you have them out too long, more than they're up to, it drains them. It's like they run out of gas, right? So that's going to deplete them. They might get kind of tired and fussy tired. They might get short with you, a little bitchy, right? And same thing with somebody who's very much of an extrovert. If you're more of an introvert and you're like, come on, honey, sit on the couch with me, let's watch movies or whatever. And the extrovert, yes, they're socializing with you, but they also need more socializing as well. If they don't get that extra socializing, they're going to get like as if they're out of gas, okay? And they're going to want to, they'll be experiencing stuff like getting short with you when they answer you. They don't feel right. They might be bitchy a little bit and give you short answers. So pay attention to yourself, and if you're more of an extrovert or more of an introvert. And for me, I used to be more of an extrovert, and it seems to have changed over the years to where today I'm more of an introvert, but I do need my socializing time. It's just not as much as I used to, and so it'll change sometimes, up and down, however it is, but pay attention to that. I have a great singing voice. Thank you. You've seen my singing videos? Oh, wow. Right on. Thank you. Yeah, I hope to send Rick. I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to do it. I hear that like CDs are kind of old school now. Like most computers don't have a CD player on them. Is that true? I think I'm in the middle, Linda. Yep. Up and down. Yeah. So pay attention to yourself. You'll pick up on, oh, I need to go kind of be by myself. Or let's say you're out socializing somewhere and it just gets a little too much. You know your feelings on what that feels like to you. Give yourself permission to take a little break. Maybe you're going to go sit in the car for a little bit, listen to the radio or something, and then go back in. That's a good thing too, because just that little break of 20 minutes or so, that's going to refuel you and help you go back in and socialize more. If it's something you really want to be doing. Grow says, oh my gosh, I was going to ask you if I can change, because I realized that I have changed. I used to be extra, now not. I'm the other way too. Yes, this is normal. It's normal to change over time. Super normal, yes. But my off kilter this week is different than that. Paying attention to whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. And I know I'm secluding too much. I'm being too much of an introvert. So, yeah. it definitely can change. There's this thing called Myers-Briggs, and what it is a personality test. It's not an IQ test. It's not like it explains your how smart you are, but rather your personality type. And it gives you 4 different subjects. It's called Myers-Briggs. You might be able to Google it. You might be able to take it. I took it when I was going to a community college, and the reason I took it was it would help me understand what kind of a job that I would be suited for. Okay. So there was this other test that maybe it was associated with Myers-Briggs. I'm not sure. But there was a list of things that I got that was things that I would be good at. Okay. So that was very cool to have this list of jobs from going to this community college. And I could look at them, and guess what? One of them was a pet cemetery. A pet cemetery. How cool. I know it sounds really weird, but I would do a pet cemetery so easily. I would rock that. Hello. Hi, Gro. How are you?
Hi, I'm
Hi.
fine.
Good to see you and good to hear you.
I'm just popping in for a short bit because I'm at work and I'm gonna be leaving here about midnight. So yeah, I'm gonna chat for just a little bit.
Sure. Share with us what's on your mind.
Okay. Yeah, so I don't know if you were in on the 6 screens today, but they had some really good topics. Anne Marie had a good topic. Um, Dick had a good topic. How do you feel? How do you feel knowing that you were lied to, or
Mm.
how do you feel? Um, what was Anne Marie's on? Anne Marie's question was, oh yeah, how do you feel n- knowing that you could have lived your life differently had you not been part of the organization, or had you not listened to the organization? And I found it was such an interesting discussion. Other people came on and they talked about how they felt, you know being deceived by the organization. um
Sounds like you're going away. Can you come closer to the phone for me?
yeah, I'm trying to see if I can get my headset to
Oh, okay.
behave itself and work.
Headset,
Um,
behave, behave, behave. Oh, behave.
yeah, I'm trying for it to behave, but it doesn't
Headset,
want to
behave.
behave. Okay, just give me a minute. Okay,
Sure.
Linda,
Another
let me
thing
try
I've
and see if
been
I can connect the other headset that I have.
sure, take your time. Another thing I've been doing is
Okay.
watching this one gal who was raised in a cult called Children of God, which happened to start here in Huntington Beach, California. It was founded here. And I believe it was David Berg. It was a group with Flirty Fishing. It was pretty bad. Anyways, she has a channel called Knitting Cult Lady. She's a slender gal, white, and she knits, and she's always knitting because she needs to do something with her hands. She wrote a book called Uncultured, and I've listened to it. It's a really good book, actually.
Mhm.
When you hear people's stories, even if they have not came out of the organization of Jehovah's Witnesses, but they were in a different group, high demand, high control group, you can relate to them, right? So I listened to her, and it's so fascinating. She was talking about how when she was younger, they had them do this little video, kind of like the kids rapping and stuff. And people used to tell her, yeah, I saw that. And I always wondered, how did they get those kids to do all that dancing and stuff? And she's like, they beat us. They beat
Oh,
us. Okay. It's like,
oh
that's how
my
they did it.
goodness.
They beat us and starved us. That's why. So, and she mentioned the David Koresh. That was a compound in Texas and called Waco, right? And
Mhm.
they released some of the children before it all went down. And the detectives were talking about how, good those children were, how they would sit still for so long. And she's like, that's not a good child. That's a child that's been traumatized to sit for 3 hours straight and not move. They were beat. Okay. It's
Hmm.
it's unusual for a child to be totally still for 3 hours when they're like 2 or 3 years old. It's normal for them to be moving around and looking around, and that's normal child behavior. And when we're in an organization like this, we have to train our kids to behave and to sit still and all this stuff. Ordinary churches have Sunday school, right? um, and ordinary churches vet their Sunday school teachers, and meaning it can't be anybody in the congregation that is doing Sunday school. Um, they get vetted, meaning, they have to pass some certain tests. They have to get whatever their vetting process is. Maybe they're fingerprinted or something to that effect. So they also have to have some form of education to work with children. So when they get to go off and do Sunday school with these people, that you can enjoy what's being taught, okay? And your child gets to be a kid, okay? Gets to be a kid in that room with other kids getting to be a kid. And yes, the Sunday school teacher will, kind of guide and direct them. Let's all sit down and, put together a picture of Noah's Ark and stuff, but it's not going to be what we saw growing up. It's going to be things that are more rounded, like Noah's Ark. It will be round, and Noah will have like a round face, and there'll be like round clouds. It'll be very cartoonish, not realistic, to be traumatizing, if that makes sense. So they're learning the story of Noah's Ark in a Sunday school class. Dad gets to actually listen to what the pastor is talking. And when you get a chance to do that, and always again follow your gut, because there are perpetrators that get through that stuff too.
Yeah.
JW Suicides is in the house. Yay! How are your headphones now?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I think you can. Yeah, well, this one that I have, it's dying. I think I have about 4% battery power on it.
Okay.
The other one that I have, I think I'm gonna give it away. It drives me crazy.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
What came up
it,
for you?
you mean in the discussion that we had today, in persons
Yeah, and
calling
let's
in?
let's bring that up because I just took it to a couple of other places. You were saying it was under Anne Marie's show, so
It
that's
was it was on the Anne Marie show, and it was also Dick asked a similar question about how a person felt, knowing that they were lied to by the organization. And for me, I don't think I mentioned that when I gave my story, when I gave my experience on your show.
mm-hmm.
Um, for me, one of my regrets was that I didn't pursue my education. I wanted to become an electrical engineer.
You know what?
And
I believe you can be. What I've come to learn about you is you're like ultra smart. Ultra smart. Like I'm impressed. Like, I remember the first time we were talking, I'm like, this child's done her homework on Watchtower stuff. I was stuck in 1960, and you were like 61 as far as the New Testament of Jehovah's Witnesses. And later on, I looked up. I'm like, girlfriend, it's right. It is 61. It's not 60.
yeah,
So yeah. That makes sense. An electrical engineer.
Yeah, I wanted to be an electrical engineer and so bad, you know, even though I have a learning disability. So
Do
my
you?
learning this, yeah, I do. I do. Um, I'm really good with language. I don't have a problem with English, with reading. I'm not dyslexia, but I'm the sister of dyslexia. I have dyscalculia. So when a
Never
person
heard
can, oh yeah, that one is having
of
a
dyscalculia.
learning disability with numbers. So
Oh,
numbers confuse me.
I see. Okay.
Numbers confuse me, yeah. So that's the only issue I had when it comes to school. I would always fail math and I would struggle. It was a struggle for me with math. But I wanted to become an electrical engineer. And I did start my course, but because I was regular pioneering, I was told that I am not setting a good example as a pioneer in the congregation. And people look up to me. At that time, I was 21. People look up to me, 22. People look up to me, and I'm setting a bad example in going to school full time, as well as missing meetings. And the meetings that I was missing was the book study because back then we had 3 days of meetings and I was missing the book study.
Yes.
And I said to them, well, that's not an important meeting. Wrong. I should not have said that because then
Who,
that put
who,
me in
who
a
said
bad
that?
light.
Who
I
said
said
that?
that.
Oh,
I
my.
said that. I said that's not an important meeting. It's not as important as the Theocratic Ministry School and the service
Yes.
meeting and the Watchtower study. That's just a book study,
Right,
you
right.
know? And that did not, go off well for me. And I was threatened by, being told I would be removed as a pioneer and I would be
Hi, Carol.
what's that word? Um, um, publicly reproved as a pioneer. And I'm like, but
Wow.
I'm not committing a sin. So yes,
Right?
that may be true, but you're not following theocratic arrangements. And for a regular pioneer, you're not supposed to go for higher education because that is not setting a good example. So, and back then I was such a coward,
Well, you were
I
very
was,
impressionable. That's a normal age to be impressionable, to be directed, whether we're in a cult or not. But,
yeah, I have a cousin. She's so strong-willed. She wouldn't stand for that. As a matter of fact, when I told her, I said, I'm becoming one of Jehovah's Witnesses, and I wouldn't be able to um, associate with my family as I used to before. Who tell me to say that? She
ooh,
was not having it. She was not having it. But for
wow.
me, I was so submissive back then. Anything they tell me, I would, humbly listen to them. And I stopped going to school. And I was just about 6 months away from graduating, from
I just
finishing
had
my course.
Taros join us. Welcome, Taros. And
Hi.
Gro is talking about how she was a pioneer and being discouraged for higher education. Please go on.
Yeah, and so I stopped, because I wanted to be obedient. We were taught to be obedient, and I didn't want to be shamed. I don't think anybody likes being shamed, and I did not want to be shamed. So I didn't want to be placed on
Yeah.
public reproof or anything like that. So of course I listened and I stopped going to school. And yeah, and then when I started working, they were the ones to find me a job. A brother had a company cleaning banks. And that
Okay.
same brother he told me that this is where Jehovah wants me to be, cleaning banks.
Amazing. Was this an elder?
Yeah, he was the
Were,
presiding overseer.
were you taught that the Holy Spirit placed elders in that position?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
me too. Me too.
And they told me that if I continue in the way that I was going, that I would be grieving the Holy Spirit. And by grieving
Oh,
the
if
Holy
you went
Spirit,
to higher education, you'd be grieving the Holy Spirit. Oh my
yes,
God.
yes, yes.
Oh my goodness. Yep, that's definitely
And
throwing the shame on real heavy.
yeah, and every time I think about it, I get angry because I know people who in my class who they finished their college, their trade, and they're engineers now, doing well, you know.
Yes.
Um, I mean, it's not that I'm doing poorly, but I could have been doing well for quite a number of years, you know.
Yes.
So yeah, when Anne Marie asked that question, it that just popped right into my brain. It
Wow.
just came right back to me, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And that's why I love platforms like that. I love Rick's show. I love your show
Makes you
because the
makes you think.
questions. Yes, it
Yeah.
does. It does. You
Whenever
know,
people talk about higher education with Jehovah's Witnesses, I get beyond angry because of my personal experience with it. So, yeah, oh my god, I'm so sorry they did that to you. Like,
yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Karos is like she's brilliant too. You know,
Mhm.
Yeah, I
it's
was
like
talked out of Ivy League grants when I was a witness. I was a pioneer too, and I was talked out of a huge grant to go to Yale. To this day, I
Wow.
have an attitude with Harvard because I was waitlisted with them. But yeah, I was talked of early admissions and a lot of stuff because to leave, I would place my relationship with Jehovah at risk by going away to school, and
Yeah.
oh
it's
my
just not
goodness, you
appropriate.
put your relationship of Jehovah at risk. Listen to this
Isn't
talk.
that
I
something, eh?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
had on non-witness family members calling me, begging me to make a different decision, and I to this day I regret. I don't regret my life, but that's a decision I would have made a lot differently had the witnesses not
Yeah.
been called.
So maybe we need to give ourselves some grace and forgive ourselves for buying into.
And remember, it's never too late to do what you want to do. A lot of
Yeah.
college credits don't expire, they transfer. It's never too late to reclaim your life and your identity after the witnesses.
That's good.
That's a really good point. Barbara Anderson, we know Barbara Anderson within the organization. She went back to school at the age of 59.
Oh
Okay.
wow.
So
Mhm.
when we start thinking, oh, I'm too old to go back to college, hmm,
Gone, girl, gone.
let's remember Miss Barbara Anderson. Because you can go to school at whatever age. I mean, and if you have disabilities, which I do, learning disabilities, when I was going to a community college, they had like a section there for me that
Mhm.
helped assist me with my learning, like with my learning disabilities and stuff. If you're physically disabled and stuff, they have stuff there for that as well. At least that was the case when I went to a community college. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, so on that show today, it just jogged my memory. It just brought all these things back. And I was like, it's good. It's good that these things come back because then we're able to assist other persons who are listening in on whether it's the six screens, whether it's um, the examiner. I can't remember the exact name of the YouTube handler, and whether it's on your platform as well. You know, your channel. It's good that we get these questions asked of us, and then when we give our answers, persons who are listening in, especially those ones who are now waking up, now discovering the truth about the truth, then
Yeah,
they too can learn how to navigate themselves, you know? It would
yes,
help them heal as well, because
absolutely. And
we're pretty much all similar. Different stories, but
mhm.
we were in the same boat. So,
JW Suicide says, I know somebody who was taking a language degree in his 90s. 90s, you know?
wow, in his
And
90s.
I think it was, yeah, Purple. She said that people, some people feel that they never had time to go to college until all their children are grown. Like me being able to do this, I
Hmm.
wouldn't have done it as my kids were growing up. Now that they're
Hmm.
grown and they are, living their own lives, I feel like I can do this and it comes natural to me. So yeah, that makes perfect sense. Um, that reality, Rebecca Wise said they deceived everyone else. They, why should we be any different?
Yeah.
Purple also made a comment earlier about blanket training, um, where babies who can sit on a blanket are trained not to reach for certain toys and they're trained to remain on the blanket that they have.
Like what do they do? Do they spank the baby?
Yes, as a matter of fact, they'll
Yep,
put the
slap
baby
their
on.
hands
They'll
with
put the baby
a
on a
ruler or
blanket.
something like that.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I was saying, yeah, they'll quickly tap the baby's hands with like a ruler or an object. When you're a child as a witness, a friend of mine was telling me about their experience where their parent would carry a spoon from
Mhm.
home. My mother carried a switch, um, whatever they needed to keep the small child from disturbing the meeting. I mean, these are small children with no impulse control. The brain isn't even developed to that point, and they're
Right.
supposed to be learning by touching and doing, and they're preventing them from doing this.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, so they'll put. My mother had a spatula from the kitchen spatula, and I remember I was little, and she was watching a couple of boys, um, Randy and Danny is their names, and of a sister in the hall or something. So it was me and my sister and Randy and Danny. So we were pretty much all the same age, right? And my mom had a spatula. If we got in trouble, if it was our consequence, it would have to put our hands out, and she'd smack us on the hands with spatulas. I'll never forget the day the spatula broke on one of their hands. It was one of the boys' hands. It was so traumatic. It was like, oh my
Oh.
god! And it always, hurt. But that's what they were doing. But
We
what I
had to go
have
pick
heard,
out our own switch from the tree
yep, I did,
to for ours, and you can't get it too small. You definitely don't want to get it too big. And
right?
yeah, it was
We
like a
had a peach
test
tree
of
too.
loyalty or something. I don't know.
Yep, I was sent to go get the switch too. Me and my sister used to be sent out to the backyard to the peach tree to get a switch. I mean, this shit was torturous. But you know what?
I literally brought that up to my incubator the other day, and she was like, "No, not you. You were never a trouble." I'm like, "Yeah, I got plenty of beatings." She's like, "I never beat you. I can only remember one time you got in trouble." I'm like, "No, I can name several."
Hmm.
And it like blew her mind that she ever did anything to me more than once. And I'm like, "What world were you living in?"
Isn't that weird? Yeah, it's very weird. Um, yeah, my mom doesn't always remember things either.
My mother's just beginning to admit or
Welcome, Dallas.
Hi, Dallas.
Ah,
Hi, Dallas.
I ended up
Yeah.
not using corporal punishment, is what they call it. You know,
Yeah, I don't use it either.
the rod.
Although my 3-year-old likes to test my will sometimes. I'm like, you better be glad I don't believe in corporal punishment.
some of them are certainly lucky.
But yes,
Yeah.
he is one of them.
You were really talking serious things, but there's worse things you got. Some of them even got the belt.
Oh
They
yeah.
they got the belt to tear their asses right up.
Yeah.
Yep.
The belt. We got plastic baseball bats and extension cords.
The extension cord.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
She's only. What's weird is she's just now acknowledging some of the other abuses that occurred to me as a child, and it's very shocking to hear her. You know, I mean, she's not taking any accountability for her part in these things. Of course not. But just starting to acknowledge that I was a victim of other people, and it's
That
very
you were a victim of what?
Another person.
Okay. Okay. I'm glad
So
to hear
it was,
she's.
and it was a huge. I think that was a huge moment for us, just for her to even acknowledge that.
Wow. Wow. That is huge.
Although she did defend herself and say there were things going on that I just didn't. She said, what kind of person was I to not, acknowledge what was going on? Or there was a term she used, be discerning about things that were going on in her home, and that was a huge moment for us. Just to even acknowledge that, I was like, wow.
That's very huge. I'm actually impressed to hear that. Because it's like she acknowledges it and she's reflecting. How did I miss that? How could I have missed that? Like, I brought up to my mother one time, Mom, you used to wake me up in the middle of the night to beat me.
Oh my goodness.
And she says, that's what happened to me when I was little. So, I was like, it still doesn't make it right, but I don't. It was a trip hearing her say that. So that's one of those things that she ended up bringing down to her kids. Statistics are at a place now that there's been enough generations to where there's been enough people raised without getting beat or spanked, and they've turned out okay for it to be documented that you don't have to do this kind of punishment that they call discipline or whatever.
And they found the opposite exactly, that this type of punishment and this type of discipline actually hinders developmental growth in the brain. When someone is so focused on fear and anxiety, it actually stops the person from learning.
Yes.
And so it sounds to me that that's still a conversation that you have to have in this day and age, that type of punishment is not needed, or that type of punishment doesn't work,
Yeah. It's pretty ugly. But they had a Bible scripture that said, unless you beat your child, or unless you use the rod on them, you don't love them. And that giving them, spankings is actually a form of love.
I hated
right?
that scripture.
Okay.
I hated it. I hated that scripture with a passion because it was used on me all the time. I once questioned my mother about why she had to do this. I was a small child, but I'm autistic, and so I questioned her, and I said, why is this necessary when you can just talk to me? I literally said that to my mother as a small child, and she pulled out this scripture, and I'm just like, what the devil?
Wow.
And y'all, you could have said that this ain't the 1920s or 1930s, or even this 16 and 1700s or 1800s, and it certainly wasn't the 20s and 30s. That's what you could say today.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. That's that
Good.
mindset, that ancient mindset where you have to beat someone into submission.
What was it like for you, Dallas, growing up? Were
I-
you born
I-
in, were you born into this organization?
Yes.
Oh, poor thing.
And so what kind of discipline was used with you?
It varied, but I don't remember everything. It was
Okay.
never, I had it better than many, I'm going to say.
Okay.
And some, I've seen old movies where some were dragged by their ear.
Yeah. Yep.
Twisted it into submission.
Yep.
So, unfortunately, the gospel or the scriptures do get perverted at times. They pervert them and apply them in a perverted way.
Mm-hmm.
They have been altered over time.
Yeah,
That's-
I always wonder why people who I'm very, how do I put this, deist. I find truth in a lot of different beliefs, and I got my own spiritual beliefs. But one thing I do notice is that a lot of people who claim to be Christians, it's like Jesus is the last one they follow. And I was discussing this with a friend of mine about the difference between Jesus and Paul, aka Saul, and how
Welcome,
he,
Chef.
he twisted everything that Jesus ever said. And I'm like, Jesus, was supposed to come and get rid of the old scriptures, and Jesus only talked about certain things, and these are the very things that people are ignoring. And I'm like, I'm like, you should call yourselves, followers of Paul or Paulians or whatever you want to call yourselves, because as far as Jesus goes, y'all wouldn't even like him. I mean, he hung with the outcast, and
Right?
he was real with people. Like, you can't be hypocritical about this. But that's why I do respect Jesus himself and his teachings. I do have a high respect for those, because I see the hypocrisy in the people that claim to be followers of Jesus versus what he said, and then following basically all these other books. And I'm like, y'all adding on to stuff. But then again, they do that in every religion.
Just before Jesus was crucified, like the day before or whatever, there was a bunch of children that wanted to hang out with him, and his disciples were like, no, no, no. And he said, let them come to me. They have the kingdom of God in them.
I
thought that
literally
was
refer to kids
amazing.
as little gods and goddesses. I refer to kids as that. And my son has taken that to his head, and I got to worry about that. But I refer to them as little gods and goddesses because they're so pure in their thought, and they're so innocent, without malice, and children have an ability to forgive and to understand and they're moldable, and it seems like a lot of those good qualities get beat out of us by the time we're a certain age, and that's the last thing I want.
Yeah. Welcome, JP. How are you?
Hi, Linda. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm doing pretty good. Just wanted to say hi to everybody.
Well,
Hello.
hi there, Shaq.
Hello. That was one of my best friends' name when I was a witness, JP.
So, what are you guys talking about tonight?
Right now we're taking a trail down memory lane of discipline that was promoted by the organization that was very toxic, Um,
Are you talking like about spankings and stuff?
Yeah. But we
Yeah.
can take the subject to any place else, or we can stay on it, whatever you're up to.
No, I got my few shares of spankings when I was in the organization, but I was always pretty a chilled out kid and stuff, and wasn't too wild and stuff, so I didn't get too many spankings. I still kind of remember the few that I got, so
Same here.
I kind of always knew better. I knew
Matters.
my mom would just give me that look, so I would just I don't know if anybody knows that, where your parent will give you that look and you just know, like, oh, don't go there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to press that. So mom would give me that look, and then I remember the last time she ever spanked me, and I was already probably like around 11 or 12. I think I was 12, like in junior high, and I was just kind of like laughing at it.
Oh,
Oh my
God,
goodness.
that's my kid. What, like, they have no fear of me, and like, I could be like, I'm gonna tap that butt, and will literally turn around and shake their butt in my face and giggle because they have no fear of me. Like, they're afraid of me taking their electronics,
Right.
you know. But you put a hand on me, like that's their response.
Yeah, there's other things that can be done for discipline other than spankings or hitting people on, besides this kind of punishment. Like, I used to put my kids in the corner for as long as their age is. So if there were 3, they were there for 3 minutes.
And why do they act like you're killing them? When you
What?
put them in time, when you put them in timeout, they literally act like you're murdering them. And part of me giggles about it because I'm like, dude, you have no idea what murder is. And like, just put them in timeout and they're screaming and crying.
I used to be able to find a corner in a parking lot. See that rear view mirror? You put your nose right there. And I would use that same principle of how old they were. Like if they were done eating or whatever, and I didn't think they ate enough food, because I wouldn't make them eat everything off their plate. And if they didn't care for a certain food, I never made them eat that certain food. But, I would say, how old are you? And they'd be at 4 or 5 or whatever. Take 4 more bites and then you're done.
Yep.
That would be how I did things. But I've had to do some apologizing, I'll tell you what. And, my kids have brought up some stuff that I've done and it's stuff that carried over that I thought was the thing to do, and over time I stopped doing it, but it still affected them. So I'm just glad they brought it up.
I had to apologize for raising my voice. That's my thing. I have to learn not to raise my voice. And I remember one night all of them got out of bed, and I don't know why they were in the kitchen. Why are you in the kitchen at 1:30 in the morning, all of you? And I was like, what are you doing up? Get back in bed. And my oldest is not used to me ever raising my voice because I am the chillest parent there is, and it hurt his feelings so bad. And I had to apologize the next morning, like, you know what? I should have handled that better. He was like, I was just getting up to tell you such and such, and like it was the total mom guilt. Oh my God.
Yeah, but you know what? Good for you for apologizing. That's real. It doesn't stop them from respecting you as a parent when you can reflect and go, I'm sorry, or explaining. I don't think we lose the respect from our children by doing that.
I think they respect us more because then they can come back and say, I'm sorry. And they can come back and be like, I was wrong, with the exception of my 3-year-old who thinks he's perfect.
Yes.
They can apologize, because we're modeling that behavior.
Yes.
That's right. We can't change our past. We can learn from it.
Yes.
What I observe is that the more right wing and Republicans this kind of violence you're talking about occurs more among Republicans and the far right than it does even the moderates.
I've noticed that too. And it's more, I think, because of the form of Christianity that they may be involved in, and how
The right wing kind of brand of it.
how the church might be directing them.
Or how and what political party they're associated with.
Not necessarily, because even the Christians in the African American community, which are predominantly Democratic, that deep religious belief kind of caters to that kind of punishment and behavior.
Yeah, that does go on too. You're right. Yeah, but I agree. I've seen that too, Dallas. And if you start, like, for instance, Christian nationalism, which is not just any ordinary conservative, it's like extreme conservatism.
These Christian right extremists, the far right extremists, which has nothing to do with Christianity at all, and it's a perversion, total perversion of it.
Yep.
It's all days of the voting block, pretty much.
Say that again. What?
A voting block.
Yeah, it's more become a voting platform than it has actual Christianity. That's very true.
Okay. So there's like examples of the, like, I want to
Jerry
say the,
Falwell, Bill Gothard,
there it is. Yeah.
and
There's a-
Jerry Falwell.
Yeah, Gothard, I believe, teaches a certain kind of teaching, to have a lot of children and how to discipline them. I believe he's not even married nor has any children, if I'm...
No, I actually not. I investigated it.
Yeah, okay. And that's what he teaches, for the women to have as many children as possible. So there was a show called like 18 and Counting.
19 and counting eventually. The
Mhm.
Duggars.
Yes.
You're right on point.
Yep.
I had no idea they were even related. Like they were connected at all.
What I think, Linda, is a lot of these fundamentalist Christian groups have very corporal punishment for their youngsters growing up, and it's not only with us growing up as Jehovah's Witnesses, but that pops up in a lot of especially fundamentalist Christian groups
Yes.
with beating their children and then taking the past. It's not just the elders in the congregation. I don't know if it's so many. It's not too common in like non-denominational churches and most of the mainstream churches anymore, but there's still some, like in the Southern Baptist and other ones, where pretty much the pastor will run the household just like
Yeah.
the elders do in the organization, and what is said on the
Platform.
on the platform, or that's pretty much what's law in the church and what a lot of the congregants believe.
And actually, Watchtower is far right.
You think so?
I think so. And if they did vote between 2000 to 2008, they would have supported the W. Bush administration 100% because it supported the beliefs and values of the org more.
I agree with you, and I've thought this way, that they would naturally, like when they leave the organization, their mindset would naturally be drawn towards the conservative side rather than
Even the
being a
moderate.
Republican rather than a Democrat. And so but there's been some things said by the governing body that gives the impression that they're like they talk like they're democratic, but they're not. And Mike and Kim, like she's pointed stuff out that they've actually given donations to left-wing politicians, which just boggles my mind. But that was just odd. It's odd.
Yeah, I think you may have a point right there.
I don't know what that's about, but it's made me go, yeah. Yeah, it's
Hey, Linda, I wanted to say a funny story real quick I was thinking about my
you
cousin.
could use one of those right about now. Let's hear a funny story.
Yeah, well, she was
I'm about to get
my
in
cousin
Roger's
Jessica. She was raised as a Jehovah's Witness like me. So it was my aunt, and my aunt, like my mother, they came into the witnesses about the same time, and they're very hardcore JWs even till this day. And my aunt's husband was never a believer, but she was always trying to make my cousin go. And my cousin never got baptized, but she was raised as a witness. But she was so smart and diehard that at the age of 10 or 11, she decided she did not want to go to meetings anymore, and she wasn't going to go at all. And she used to tie herself to furniture. She used to hide my aunt's keys just so she couldn't, and she used to hide in the house and that.
Wow.
And if my aunt would try to be dragging her across the
I was gonna
living
say-
room on a chair that she's tied to, trying to take her to meetings, and my cousin would just be screaming, and then her dad would just be like, "No, this is crazy. Like, let her be," you know.
I was
And I
thinking to
think
myself,
by the time
my
she
mom
was
would-
12, she was already an apostate.
Oh my God. Wow. What a determined soul. Wow.
Yeah, and she's always been my favorite cousin. Like her oldest brother's an elder to this day.
Okay.
He never left the organization, and he always obeyed, my aunt, his mother, and
Yeah.
was just completely diehard in the organization. But I remember when I got baptized when I was 13, and my aunt and my mom were telling me that I couldn't talk to my cousin anymore because she was always very outspoken about the organization, but she was never baptized. And she was always like considered the black sheep and always somebody very bad, like to all my
I
JW
like her.
family.
I like
And
that.
I remember they were putting me up to telling my cousin that I couldn't talk to her anymore. And we're visiting my aunt, and my cousin was at work, and she was going to come home. And I remember I was crying, and my other cousin was there, who's an elder. He was trying to tell me that, that she's bad association. I shouldn't hang out with her. And I had like a breakdown. I pretty much like fainted because I was so upset.
What is with
And-
Jehovah's Witnesses doing that?
And I was like 13 years old, and she was like 18. She was working at a grocery store at the time. And we went to visit. I had just gotten baptized. I was looking forward to seeing her, and they were telling me, "Oh, you can't hang out with her anymore because you're baptized." Because her and me were supposed to go to the bowling alley and then go to the movies and stuff. We had already arranged that before she went to work. And then my aunt, my mom, and my cousin, they told me, "Oh, well, you can't be around her. You just got baptized, and you're gonna have to tell her when she comes home from work that you're not gonna be able to go out with her tonight." And
I hate that shit.
I was just pleading with him, and
It
I was
gets
so
put on
upset.
you.
I fainted because I was crying, and I was so upset.
They did
Yeah.
that to me and my sister when I got baptized. I was no longer allowed to hang out with my sister, and I had to go and say goodbye. And I remember just crying my head off. I couldn't even. It's all a blur to me because
Yeah,
of how
they
messed up I
made
was.
you do that.
I-
And I never understood why. What's the point of that? If you're just not going to talk to somebody anymore, you can ghost or not even say anything or just say, you know, not right now and let it flow? Why do they make you have that confrontation?
I think I know it. That's being like the Pharisees, thinking the ones who believe that they were superior to the Gentiles and the Samaritans,
It
or
does
the
come.
ordinary, everyday ones of their own kind.
It does come across kind of elitist, like, doesn't it? What I've
Yeah, it just goes to show you how crazy it is.
what I've
But
come to learn about
I
most.
remember though, Linda, when she got home from work, she came home and she was looking forward to take me out and visiting with her and her friends. And I was so upset she knew something was wrong. And then when she came in the house, I just started crying. And then she like was mad at my aunt and my mom, her aunt, who was my mom. And she was like, "What's wrong with him? What did you guys do to him? How come he doesn't want to talk to me anymore? And how come he said all these ugly things to me in my room that you guys told him to say, because he told me that you guys told him to say that to me." And my aunt and my mom my cousin, they just didn't say anything. They just stood there and just kind of like looked down. And she went off on him for a few minutes, just told them how terrible they were. And
Wow.
I didn't know what to do, but she ended up staying home that night. We just hung out in her room, and then she was just telling me before that, because I told her the last visit before that I was going to get baptized and stuff, and she said, "Remember I told you that Mom and Thea are going to tell you that you're not going to be able to talk to me anymore?" And I said, "Yeah." She says, "Remember?" And I said, "Yeah," but I didn't believe him.
How old were you
Uh,
at
I
this
was
time?
13 and she was 18.
See, I didn't connect that. I never connected, like, I never got baptized either. I didn't connect that I would be not allowed to do certain things if I got baptized. I don't know why that never connected for me. I just thought I was a Jehovah's Witness. I went door to door my whole freaking life saying, "Hello, I'm one of Jehovah's Witnesses." I thought I was one. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a trip. Yeah, I get that there's a baptism thing, but it was presented to me as like it's an outward display of what's already in your heart and the commitment you already have. I didn't know that I wasn't a Jehovah's Witness until I got baptized. I just didn't know that. It just,
Yeah, Linda, there's like this underlying footnote with being baptized that takes all these things on that even a 13-year-old kid can't even comprehend,
it wasn't comprehensible to me. And
or a teenager. Because when you're a teenager, I mean, when you're 12, 13, they're baptizing children even a lot younger. But when I was growing up in the 90s and then even the 80s, that was the standard age for people to get baptized back then. Even when I got baptized, there was a friend of mine in the hall. He was like around, I think, 11, and I was 13. And that was just something that was very common. But like you said, they always present it as just a public display of you're dedicating your life to Jehovah, but it entails all these other things that literally will destroy your life and your family if you don't obey those things. And if you ever decide that, hey, I don't think what I chose to do when I was 13 was the best choice and I want to choose to do something different, well, you're signing a contract that you're going to lose your family. It may be when you're 18, 19. I've seen so many people when they're 18 years old that got kicked out of their house, ended up homeless on the streets,
even
either were
younger,
taken advantage of. And this was the time I graduated in June of
even younger,
2001.
get kicked out of the house.
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
I said, even younger, they get kicked out of the house. but definitely when a child reaches 18, if they're disfellowshipped or whatever, an elder will come by the house and encourage the parent to kick out the child.
Yeah.
Or that's not an uncommon thing. I'm not
I
saying every
saw
elder does
that.
this, but
I've heard of incidents, and I was curious if they will tell them to have a legal court restraining order against them, such as a trespass order. If they trespass on that property, they will be arrested and incarcerated, prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law when they do. I don't know if that goes that far, but I'm afraid it might go that far.
my very first interview when I started doing this was William Bowen, Bill Bowen, and he was sharing that kind of stuff with me. And you know, the baptism is like a verbal contract, and if one of the spouses, you know, they're both Jehovah's Witnesses, if one of them decides not to be a Jehovah's Witness anymore, that the person that wants to remain a Jehovah's Witness will be encouraged to kick them out and do a restraining order. So that keeps them out of the house for like, I don't know, 3 months or whatever. And then the elders will help the one that wants to stay in the org to move who knows where. You know, they start the custody thing and try to get custody of the children and stuff. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad.
But I hope it don't go no farther, such as to the point where they will stone them deaf or kill them for shaming their honor and shaming the congregation, such as an honor killing that's so prevalent in Islamic nations. Not
What's
to be the honor killings that's so prevalent in the Middle East, Islamic nations. Hopefully it don't go that far, because that would be a crime. And even in the Bible, it is. That's just plain. That's not restoring your honor. That's just plain murder.
It is, and I can remember as a teenager and stuff being taught that back in the day, if you were, you know, disrespectful to your parents or whatever, you could be killed. And so, yeah, if the law doesn't allow that today, but the fact that they speak of it as if, you know, with no terminology if that shouldn't happen, you get the message that you deserve death. That's the message you get, you know, and you deserve death if you don't follow your parents' instructions and stuff.
Not that they could take a gun or knife to you right there in the home, because that would be illegal and against God to do that.
Yeah.
Because I had, living in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas, and Irving, Texas, 2 girls. They were honor killed, and they were because of their westernized lifestyle, and they're not submitting to an arranged marriage in his native Egypt.
Whoa. Okay.
And while I was living in Texas and it happened so close, if only we could have kept them with us, so they could have kept their life, because they deserve to keep their lives.
Yeah. You didn't know that was coming. You know, you didn't know that would be a consequence for them, right?
I didn't know of it happening So the day it happened on New Year's Day of 2008. So that's a day to remember and pay a moment of silence to them in all the state of Texas. They need to.
Okay. You know, that's something that, like, a friend of mine, um, her name is Teresa Piccola, and her sister died, and she raised her sister's kids. And every year they'll gather balloons and let go of them as a tribute to her sister and in remembrance of her. You know, and she did that with the kids as they were growing up, and she still does it to this day. Sometimes it's comforting to have a ritual or a tradition for someone you've lost, like what you were talking about, a moment of silence, something like that.
Or some of them may want to bless and spray their tombstones with holy water.
Okay. Rebecca Wise says, Dallas, I remember that too. Tragic, she says. Wow. That's insane.
And we're sorry that we can't save every innocent life. We're just so sorry that we would do as many if we could.
Yeah, and we're not supposed to be. It's an intrusion. It seems. Were you a child at that time, or were you a young adult, or?
I was adult.
Okay, yeah. I'm thinking about friends, and like, as we're growing up, we're just functioning within our own house. Knowing anything about another person's house, we might know stuff, but we have no say over it. You know what I'm saying?
I never even met them. The girls Amina and Sarah Saeed.
Oh my
never
God, you
even
remember names.
I
Wow.
investigated their life, and they had been victims. He had even molested them too.
Okay. Was there any consequences was this by their father?
Yes.
Was there ever any legal criminal consequences for
Yes.
him?
Before that, a lot of criminal records, and is guilty before the Lord most of all. And what sometimes we remember in the Bible how Jesus and apostles had resurrected certain ones out of the grave. I've read stuff like that.
Can you repeat that? I'm really sorry. I got distracted by reading that. Can you repeat that?
I remember hearing about how Jesus and his apostles resurrected certain ones.
Yeah.
If only we could do that with those innocent ones, just say their names and they're out and walking around.
Yeah.
With the blessing of holy water there.
Yeah, it's very heartbreaking to know that kind of culture ends with death like that.
And then you got the innocent who oppose that and find it unacceptable and detestable.
Yeah. Wow.
Because I have ones from every area of the globe that there's decent folks. We love them as our neighbor, because that's a second greatest commandment, to love our neighbor as ourselves.
That's right. To love God with all your heart, and then to love your neighbor as yourself. Yeah. That replaces the 10 Commandments, right? Or the 66, however many,
The
600 and something.
613, 613.
Okay. Yeah. So, wow.
And they
So-
even those girls even got scholarships. At least the older one did.
Oh. So the honor killing was for like, what was the reason given?
Westernized lifestyle, and they're
That's
going on dates.
Oh my, okay. I see. So they lived over here in the US, but they were not to, it almost sounds like, to be in the world but not of the world, right? Oh my god.
But
Wow.
to follow the ways of a foreign country and village life of a foreign country.
Yeah.
Actually, the metropolitan areas have more Western influence.
Where is the metropolitan area?
The metropolitan areas of every nation usually will have more Western influence to them.
Okay. So in the US, what would you call the metropolitan area?
That would be your major cities that are close to them, your suburbs.
Okay. Welcome, girl.
And,
God love your back.
and well, hi, girl.
Bro just joined us. I heard you say
Yeah,
something a
sorry
minute
about,
ago.
sorry about that. My phone got disconnected um, from the internet. My battery was low, and then I just dropped my work colleague off. So now I'm connected to the jack in my car. So now I can get back in on the conversation.
Okay, you sound very far away. If there's something you can do to make your voice louder, that would be helpful.
Okay. Okay, so let me know if this sounds better.
So much better. Does that sound better, Dallas?
There you go. That's good.
Okay.
Thank you.
If she has something to share, she can go right ahead.
You're such a gentleman, Dallas. Thank you.
I try,
I know, I can tell. I think that's really
but
cool.
I know I ain't perfect.
Yeah, none of us are. But I notice your gentlemanly behavior, and I just want to compliment you on it.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome, love. Is there anything on your mind, bro? Or did you join us to listen in, or? Purple said, turning a child out on the streets can be a death sentence, especially if they have been raised in a very closed culture. So they don't know the dangers of the outside world. That right there is why many people come back to the organization if they choose to leave, or when they get disfellowship, they come back because they're trained to be very dependent on the organization. They, like she was saying, a closed culture. So they don't gain wisdom of what the outside world is like, or society at large. And that's causes people to fail. Under Chrissy Lynn, I think is her name, Chrissy Ann. She makes videos, really amazing ones. under her latest video, it's a song she wrote, right? Under that video, she was replying to me, and she was like, you would not believe how many Jehovah's Witnesses are out here on the streets, because she's out on the streets, and she has been before. She was talking about JWs, you know, that have been kicked out of their homes and stuff. And it happens to those of us too, like within the LGBTQ community. And matter of fact, there was a show years back. It was kind of a comedy of this one black guy who was gay, and then this white chick who was got thrown out of her family home because she was a Christian of some sort. So both of them were, you know, he took her in because she got thrown out of the house because she was in a cult. I don't remember the name of it, and I didn't get to watch it very often. Yeah. But
So, Linda,
that's too bad. Yes?
when you say that they were on the streets, do you mean that they were living on the streets? Like homeless?
Correct. Correct.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Evidently with Chrissy-Ann, I think I'm saying her name right. Evidently her mother found her channel and kicked her out, and took her laptop and everything. And I didn't hear about this until a while back. But most of us that have something like that happen to us, because of being such a closed group, we have no idea of our rights or our entitlements. And I don't even think I might be wrong, but I don't even think she realized that she had the right to, you know, take her mother to court. I don't know how much that would cost or whatever, but what her mother did was illegal. It was, you know, but within a cult, they do these kinds of things all the time. They do things that are against your own human rights, against the law. Earlier today, on Six Screens, there was a guy that came on there. There was a musician, Frank, I think his name was.
Yeah,
Frank.
Yes,
Frank.
he played.
right on.
So his group is called Memphis Sons, right? He's telling a story about some place he was at, playing the keyboards or whatever, and that an elder came over and took the lid and slammed it on his fingers. An elder did this shit. And it's not surprising. You know, did his dad get up and tell this other elder to back off and don't do that to my son anymore? No, Frank said that was to be expected. Okay, this kind of behavior and this kind of treatment was to be expected, so that he would not pursue his talent, and he is talented, of music. Yeah. I was looking up Jimmy Bell had made a post on Facebook, and there was, within that post, there was initials that stood for Trump deranged syndrome or something. And I went and looked it up. You know, what does Trump deranged syndrome mean? And what that is it's anybody who criticizes Trump or thinks he or disagrees with his policies, they have Trump deranged syndrome or something to that effect. And what that reminded me of is, if anybody talks critically or negatively about the Watchtower, we're called mentally diseased. Isn't it amazing how both of these things are something that says you're mentally off? If you criticize the organization's policies or Trump's policies. Isn't that fascinating?
And yet the organization is the entity that is driving people to mental disorders, driving people to um, depression, suicidal tendencies. The organization is doing that. This person who came on to Six Screens, I can't remember his name, if it was Dan or I can't remember. Um, but he was saying that his entire family was suffering from some sort of mental disorder. And it
Yeah, that
all has to do
Dan
with
Clark.
being in the organization.
Yeah.
Gross. I want to tell you, that was Dean that was on with Dan. Dan
Right.
Clark. He's great. I love him.
Okay.
Dean was the guy that talked about Hawaii, right?
He was the guy that talked about what? Sorry?
Hawaii, and that he was in
Um,
service for a while.
yes,
Yeah,
that's him.
That
Yes.
that's it.
There was about 4 or 5 guys that were talking for a good amount of time. It was really
Yeah.
neat listening to them.
Yeah.
Because you don't get to hear, well, I don't get to hear men bonding very often. And they had like different accents and stuff, or maybe not accents, but I could hear the difference in each other's voices of,
Mm-hmm.
different, like there was a black guy there, and then there's Dan, Mr. White Dude, and then I'm calling him a Hawaiian guy because he said something to the effect of going back home to Hawaii. I'm assuming he's Hawaiian. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed like a couple other people were chimed in, and
Yeah.
it was just hearing these different voices and being in agreement and adding in, and listening to one of them go, I'm going to remember that. I'm going to use that too. It's just a really cool conversation. Yeah. It was
Yeah.
really, did you join into that too, Dallas?
I was listening in, and then I spoke a little bit, and how they called the cult. They actually called it Watchtower Witnesses, or more like, how about Witch Tower Witnesses, or they call it Jehovah Wickedness.
Yes. By the way, there's a gal who sings a song.
I said Satan's Witnesses.
You've always got a cool twist on stuff like that. You do, Dallas. There's this gal from like Norway, and they have a YouTube channel that most everything is in Norwegian. And she did a version of Hotel California, but it's called Watchtower California. And the lyrics, she's changed them to have something to do with what it's like to be inside of the Jehovah's Witness organization. Have you guys heard it?
No, is she on YouTube?
Yeah.
All right, I'll look for it. I'm gonna look for it.
God, if I remember, I'll put it in the description. And she can sing. She's a good singer too. And as she talks about certain things, again, it's Hotel California, but she's just changed the lyrics to make it all about the Jehovah's Witnesses, and it's really good. It's really good.
That's good. I'm gonna look for it.
Okay. Do you know how to share things?
You mean digitally? Electronically?
Through this StreamYard that we're on?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. If you find it, I would love to share it if you know how to do that.
Okay, as soon as I get home.
Sure. Wow, Natasha was thrown out at the age of 16.
Thrown out from home at the age of 16.
Okay.
That is just criminal behavior.
So I might be reading this wrong. I think it's JW Suicides who's saying I was thrown out age
Okay.
16 because I was
Oh,
paying for private tuition out of my own wages. Craziness. Us going to act. This is like non-bad behavior of children behavior. It's like, what? This is the kind of crazy crap you'd get thrown. Man. And that was one of them. I'm sorry, guys. I wasn't paying attention to the chat. But yeah, that's a good song. And if she finds it, she'll come back and she can share it with us. But again, they're Jehovah's Witness or they're ex-Jehovah's Witnesses from Norway. So the topic that Bro brought up earlier about having regrets and stuff. Even JP was talking about these different things that we were stuck having to do, and not only having to do, but then having to be the one to say it. JP had to tell his cousin, "I'm not going to be able to go with you to go out bowling and stuff." Bro wanted to be going to college, and it was said to her that she would be a bad example if she was in higher education in college, and she wanted to be an electrical engineer. So
Pretty much they would view it as a shame to them. That's what.
yeah,
So sad.
yes. So the organization, as far as higher education, there have been people that have gone and to college, but the story that the organization tells is that it's dangerous to go to community. It's dangerous to go to university. It's okay to get a trade, but if you go to university and kind of expand your mind, that's a dangerous place, and you are putting yourself in a position of being brainwashed by the college, and that it will erode your faith in God. So that's the reasoning, and some of you might remember Anthony Morris III talking about we won't need doctors in the new system, right? We're just going to need nurses and stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, we're going to be building our own houses and stuff. Might somebody fall off the roof and break their leg? What about people delivering babies? Might we want to have a baby in the hospital? It didn't settle well with me. I wasn't buying it. And
I'd be really curious. Oh, what new system?
well, that's that whole belief system of the organization. So he's talking to believers, and it was on JW broadcast. I think it was in 2017, maybe. So it's that kind of talk that gets people to within the organization to not go to university. And I've heard it even being spoken of by Loach, the governing body member. He was talking about it in another language someplace else. But interestingly, back to Anthony Morris III, after he's talking about how what we need is plumbers and this, that, and the other, people with a trade, he goes on to say that somebody said something to the effect of going to college and then leaving was like leaving a burning building and still having the smell of it, the smell of fire, still on your clothes. So they really put it in such a way that it really represents danger. Okay, it's going to ruin your relationship with God. It's almost like escaping a fire. And the story that Loach was telling, which again was in another language, that was similar to someone almost dying as well. That was a university student kind of thing. So they related going to university as being almost basically deadly. So that's what they're planting in your mind as far as university. Were you
What?
good at school, Dallas?
Yeah, I even read lots of encyclopedias, read them regularly, so very good with geography and history, some scientific evidence. I actually love that kind of detailed stuff. So it don't work out for me just to be spoon fed by that cult, to be spoon fed as like a baby.
Wow. So
It
you just pick up encyclopedias and just start reading them.
I did, and look up things online and going out and experiencing things.
Yeah,
That's
are
how
some-
you learn.
it is. Yeah. What are some of the things that you looked into that helped you in your journey of healing from leaving the organization? What are
I'm-
some of the studies you did that helped you?
I'm
with that?
only faded right now, so I
Okay.
saw a YouTube video and I learned somebody had, I don't know where he is. I'd like to find him again. He said that somebody who said about the organization, how Watchtower was involved with the United Nations and the CSA cases,
Yeah.
and this person was actually using God's name, Jehovah, and part of the video he said that Jehovah has been bringing retribution on Watchtower in the form of lawsuits.
Okay.
And that was that had to be one of the first straws that started to break the camel's back for me. Researching, and then I watched it multiple times, but and eventually I eventually tapped into Rick's channel.
Okay.
And I always had my doubts.
That's a common thing, even in other groups that are considered cults. You'll hear people tell their story, and they'll often say, I had doubts, but then they shelf them or talk themselves out of it.
But they wanted to do right at the same time.
Exactly.
And they had certain ones that they loved as well.
Yes.
And I do. And the ones that are bound, or the or balance were who I was attracted to and still would be attracted to when they're balanced and not so straight lace.
Yeah.
That they're more liberal, meaning very balanced.
Rebecca asked me to look up something. And it's about a grad student, a college girl that's missing in Wisconsin, and they need help. She says, I can't remember the name, damn it, but she's beautiful. Let's see. Missing student in Wisconsin recently. Oh my God, she is beautiful. Yeah, blonde. Okay. This is from 2 days ago from People magazine. Families share. Let me make sure. I want to highlight it and copy it in case it turns to where I can't read the rest. Okay, so family shares heartbreak as 22-year-old college student, oh God, is found dead days after vanishing on walk home. Okay. Rebecca, it sounds like she's been killed. Elliot's walk is finished. Unfortunately, our family's walk down this new hard path is just beginning, they said. Yeah, Rebecca's saying, oh crap. I think Rebecca's hearing the news as I am. Yes, this is sad. Okay. So this is from the 24th, 2 days ago. Wow. A grieving family is reportedly speaking out after a missing 22-year-old graduate student was found dead days after she left a bar on the way home in her college town of La Crosse, Crosse. I'm thinking it's La Crosse, Wisconsin. Police said on Wednesday, July 23rd, that the body of Elliot Hines has been found in the Mississippi River near Brownsville. It looks like Minnesota, Minn, which is just downstream of La Crosse. We cannot thank our family, friends, the La Crosse community, Whitterboro University, or the La Crosse PD enough for showing up for Elliot. They were an amazing light in an incredibly dark space, her family said in a statement, according to ABC affiliate WISN. Elliot's walk home is finished. Unfortunately, our families walked down this new hard path is just beginning. The statement continued. We love you, Elliot. Hines, who attended Whitterboro University, was remembered as beautiful, caring, funny, smart, and loved fiercely. We don't know why we were so blessed to have her as a daughter, or why we are unable to keep her. She is amazing and would have continued to amaze us. Her loved ones said, we are devastated that she is no longer with us. Our family will forever have a missing piece. In a statement shared by officials, along with confirmation of her death. Hines' family said anyone interested could consider donating to her parents through a family friend, and that's highlighted. Probably a GoFundMe kind of thing to help them probably pay for the funeral. I don't know. The La Crosse Police Department previously said that Hines was last seen walking southbound on the 500 block of Front Street South, which is close to the Mississippi River, at approximately 3:22 a.m. local time on Sunday, July 20th. Her family, friends, and police have made several attempts to locate her with no success, police said. According to Vertebro University, she was at Bronco's Bar in La Crosse around 2:30 a.m. local time that day. Family members have said that she was heading home when she disappeared, according to CBS affiliate WKBT. La Crosse police are continuing to investigate and will await the results of an autopsy for an official cause of death, law enforcement said in their statement on Wednesday. The entire department sends their condolences. The police chief, Sean Coudron, shared his own condolences. This was not the outcome we had hoped for throughout this search. Our thoughts are with Elliot's family, friends, and all those who knew Elliot, he said in a statement. We are grateful for the outpouring of support from so many within the La Crosse community, the state of Wisconsin, and nationally to locate Elliot. And there seems to be one comment. The comment says, my advice, and it's by somebody named Hey Mike from a day ago. My advice to all young ladies, if you're going out to drink at night, go in a group. Don't ever walk home alone or hitch a ride home with a stranger. Yeah, I agree. This is truly tragic. Wow, this is really tragic. Earlier today, at a Walmart, I'm not sure which Walmart it was, there was some stabbing done. So 11 people were injured. And that seemed very miscellaneous. They're not sure what the intent was of the person who did the stabbing. But that was something that happened earlier today. And they don't have much details right now. Let me see if I can look that up. Thank you for having me look this up, Rebecca. Yeah, sad for Elliot. You're right, she is beautiful. Wow. We even have videos. Let's see here. Walmart stabbing today. Okay. This is from 3 hours ago from ABC News. And then there's NPR. A man accused of stabbing 11 people at Walmart. I'm going to go with the NPR. I've always had pretty good success with NPR. Let me see. I'm going to highlight that too. So, a man accused of stabbing 11 people at a Walmart is in Michigan authorities' custody. So, they did catch him. And this is from July 27th, 2025, which is today. The city is called Traverse City, Michigan. 11 people were stabbed at a Walmart in Traverse City on Saturday. And earlier, when I was listening to somebody make comments, it looked like a man of authority, maybe a sheriff or a police officer. They made it sound like their town was on the smaller side. So, and that things like this is incredibly rare to happen in this city. So back to the article. With 6 in critical condition, in what a Michigan sheriff said appeared to be a random act. The suspect was in custody, authorities said. Around 4:45 p.m., a 42-year-old man entered the store and used a folding knife to stab 11 people. The Grand Traverse County Sheriff's Office said in a statement on social media. The sheriff's department arrived within minutes and took the man into custody, and people in the store also helped apprehend the subject and treat victims, sheriff's office said. I love it when I get to hear this kind of stuff. People apprehended his ass, okay? And already people that were there in the store were helping those that were stabbed, you know? That I love hearing that. This kind of stuff. The victims' ages weren't immediately released. 11 is 11 too many, but thank God it wasn't more, Sheriff Michael Shea told reporters. Emergency vehicles and uniformed first responders gathered in the parking lot of the shopping center that housed several other retail stores. It was like a shopping center, you know, not necessarily a mall, but a center. Authorities also were seen interviewing employees still wearing blue uniform vests and name tags nearby as the response gave way to an investigation. Tiffany DeFall, 36, who lives in Honor of about 25 miles. That doesn't sound right. Okay, who lives in Honor. I'm going to guess that's a place. About 25 miles, 40 kilometers from Traverse City, said she was in the store's parking lot when she saw chaos erupt around her. It was really scary. Me and my sister were just freaking out, she said. This is something you see out of the movies. It's not what you expect to see where you're living. Munson Healthcare said via social media that 11 people were being treated at the region's largest hospital in northern Michigan. Spokesperson Megan Brown said all were stabbing victims. 6 people were critical and 5 were in serious condition late Saturday, she said. Shea said the weapon involved appeared to be a folding style knife. Shea said the suspect is believed to be a Michigan resident, but declined to share further details. Michigan State Police said, or had said earlier in the day, that the suspect was in authorities' custody. Governor Gretchen Whitmer said, our thoughts are with the victims and the community reeling from this brutal act of violence. Walmart said in a statement that it would continue to work closely with law enforcement in the investigation. Violence like this is unacceptable. Our thoughts are with those who were injured and were thankful for the swift action of first responders, the statement said. FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino said in a social media post that Bureau officials were responding to provide any necessary support. Traverse City is a popular vacation spot on the coast of Lake Michigan. It is known for its cherry festival, wineries, and lighthouses, and is about 25 miles, 40 kilometers east of Sleeping Bear Dunes National Lake Shore. So it sounds like a really quaint town, a vacation spot. This is like it came out of nowhere. I'm saddened to hear this. It's really too bad that this kind of stuff happens. It makes me wonder if the perpetrator might have had something mentally off with his state of mind for him to do something like this. Did you hear about any of this, Dallas?
No, I didn't hear about that kind of thing until you mentioned it right here. I didn't hear about it.
Okay. Yeah, it's really sad to hear about the university student. And today, what I love, about like when I've heard my daughters and her friends talk about going out, to hit the bars or whatever, they've always talked about how they'll take Uber or Lyft, which I think is pretty dang awesome because they're not drinking and driving, right? So, yeah, if you're out and about, take an Uber or a Lyft. It's a pretty simple app you can put on your phone and set it up to where it takes the money right out of your debit card. If you have a checking account, you probably have a debit card. And it usually doesn't cost that much. Walking home that time of night is dangerous, especially for a woman and other people that are leaving the bars. They've been drinking too. It didn't say she was drinking, but I'm saying that people that leave the bars have been drinking, and not everybody's in a good place after they've been drinking. What's on your mind, Dallas?
Well, I'm so sorry to hear that, but she must have went there for dinner or something, which usually those pubs or those taverns they usually have some of the best food.
Yeah. I had to take my medicine. So you were mentioning about somebody that you watched their video, and they were talking about the United Nations. And was it the same person that was talking about CSA?
They mentioned a case about that, and I don't remember who it is and which person. I'd only know by looking, but I tried to look for them again, look to typing in different searches, but I'd love to find and hear it again.
Did
I'll
this
have to
person?
look. I
Did
don't
this
know
person
who.
sound like they were an ex Jehovah's Witness, or do you think this was a person talking about Jehovah's Witnesses.
Was mentioning the certain things that happened and how he grew up in it, he and his sister.
Okay. He and his sister.
And think said something that if this video wakes one person up, maybe his sister said that, then it was effective, then we done good.
Okay, so this person made videos, him and his sister.
Just him alone, he was on it.
Okay, just him alone.
And I don't know who he is, but I remember the video. Waking up someone, well, oftentimes it works.
Yeah. Was this a white guy with like dark hair and blue eyes?
I don't remember,
Okay.
but he was white Caucasian. That's all
Yeah.
I remember.
Okay. I was thinking of Lloyd Evans. He would probably be very thorough on both of those subjects. Yeah. Faded in San Diego, 2025. I think the most I paid for Uber was about $15. It's better than about 10K to 15K, not to mention driving privileges suspended. I keep myself to a 2-drink limit. Yeah. I thought it, yeah, when my adult children were talking about that's how they go out, I've loved the fact that they, would get an Uber or a Lyft or something. That's just really the wise, or a taxi, it's really the wise thing to do. So what are some of the subjects that helped for you that you're saying the United Nations and then CSA?
Yes.
Okay. Anything else?
Well, and I think that the and other things, and with having a sister excommunicated, I love her and we love each other, and we've been texting and reunited.
Oh, nice.
And sometimes it's that some things, the rules, doctrines made me not myself.
Yeah. Definitely.
And I wanted time with my relatives, but we did gather with certain relatives going to their Thanksgiving still.
Okay.
I thought that if I have a chance and live close enough, I'm going to their Christmas parties
Okay.
as well, and their Easter if I can. I will go to them too, and I will take part in present exchange.
Oh, very cool. Yeah.
I said I will go if they were close enough.
Yeah.
And that I they also, that scripture is wrongly applied, that if you left brothers, mothers, children, fathers, mothers, fields, houses, and possessions for the good news that about getting 100-fold more, that's really more of the organization. Like you're gonna get 100-fold more brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers, houses. That's no substitute for your real family. You need your real ones.
Yes. Yes, you do. So Shaq is going to join us. JP has just joined us. Welcome, JP. Welcome back.
Sorry I had to
Welcome.
leave early.
That's okay.
I got a number from a XJW lady from Joe in France, so she called me and I was talking to her. But
No, that's
I might
smart.
I might send you her number too, because she's from Culver City
All right.
in California. So
Yeah, just ask her if she's okay with you passing her number to me.
yeah, that was like part of her call, because why Joe and Friend sent her to me, because she's looking for more XJWs to meet up with. So
Okay.
there's gonna be a meetup tomorrow in Burbank at that same cafe, but I was just letting you know. But this guy Ryan, who's kind of organizing it on the Liberati, it seems like he's trying to do like a monthly thing.
Oh wow. Okay.
So they don't always get that many people out, but I know Doreen's gonna go tomorrow. I was just talking to her earlier, and then I think I might try to go and a few other people. So I'm just
Okay.
letting you know, but I think it's gonna become like a regular thing, like a monthly thing out here, and then I do want to try to plan more, like even Doreen, like more closer to yours and Nadine's area, and like Carrie K,
Yeah.
because I know she's from Orange, like she's from Temecula, so we might plan some more towards out there. So, but I'm just
Okay.
letting you know if you do happen to make it tomorrow, or you can some way. I know it's kind of pretty far from you too, like me, but just
Thank
throwing
you.
it out there.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing it up. Burbank. Okay. Through
Yeah, it was
Liberati.
listed on the Liberati, because I think you're a member there, right? In
Yeah,
Facebook.
I remember Liberati. Yeah. So
Yeah,
the one who's organizing it must live in Los Angeles County.
yeah,
Somewhere.
I think he is right, not too far from there. So
Okay.
he's trying to have him out there. I can't always make him, but I don't think anybody's gonna come out here to the Antelope Valley where I live in the middle of nowhere. So
Okay.
I think I gotta kind of drive an hour to go, but a lot of people, everybody almost seems like has to drive an hour or so to kind of get to a meetup legitimately.
Yeah.
But we'll make better plans. I do want to make one closer to where you live and stuff, so we can get Nadine and all the OC people out there.
Doreen had one out here, and she plans on having another one.
Yeah, I went to that one too. There was just a few people, but that one, yeah, that one was in Orange. And then there was a brother and sister, not like from the org, but little like fleshly brother and sister that were raised in the org, and they did show up, but they're from Premier area from Huntington Beach.
Oh, really?
But I still
Okay.
have to call him. I got his number. I still have to call him and get his story. I was telling you when I was leaving that meetup that he had almost damn near same experience as me. But
Okay.
yeah, they're right there where you live in Huntington Beach. So
Wow. Okay.
yeah, I might even call him tomorrow and say, hey man, I got to get the rest of your story. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'll tell him about you and that, and then if it's okay with them, I'll shoot you their contact, because they're right there where you live in Huntington Beach,
Okay. Thank
and
you.
they're
Yeah.
really cool. Him and his sister were like, I had a really good time. It's like when you meet people. It's like when we always go to a meetup and you're like, oh, it's getting late. We have to go home, but I don't want to go home. But yeah, they were both really nice, like him and his sister. So, and you would get along with them really, really well. So
That's cool.
I'll have to get you connected with them, because they're literally like in your neighborhood. So
Okay. Yeah.
I'll do that, but I'm gonna contact him tomorrow
Okay.
and talk to him.
That sounds
But
good.
yeah, that's why I had to abruptly take off a little earlier. It was just wanted to take this XAW sisters call and stuff.
Yeah, that was smart. I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
I would have done the same thing if I wasn't hosting the show. Matter of
No,
fact,
I
I
know
have.
you will.
Yeah.
And she's in Culver City, so I told her about the meetup tomorrow. So she said she actually might try to go tomorrow.
Cool.
Can't guarantee it, but she's a lot closer than, of course, than you are in Huntington Beach to Burbank. So,
Right.
but I thought that was cool. So,
I think so
but
too.
I'll let her know about you, Linda, and then I get your permission, so I'll ask her. She would like to contact you because that's kind of why Joe and Fran do this, is so I can help get people in Southern California together more, because they do a lot, and it I'm sure it becomes only a burden on Joe and Fran to they can't keep in contact with everybody,
Right.
and they have
But
their name out there so much. They're trying to help so many people, so
they're helping people connect, and that's a good thing.
yeah. They don't know Southern California like you and me, and who could fit each other best. So they'll just sometimes shoot me numbers like, oh, it's just somebody out in Southern California, and they'll tell me their name and city. I'm like, oh, they live right by, they live not too far from Doreen or this other people, So I'm like, I'll give them their number. And I know Linda's not too far, so I'll give, and that's how we get really good, meaningful meetups, is we all get to know each other. And then that's when you get a nice meetup where a lot of people show up, like we've been doing in the past.
Which is how I met you
Yeah, exactly. So,
in person, and that was a cool day.
oh, it's always a cool day when we hang out, Linda.
Yep.
So I was just letting you know that, but yeah, that's about it. I was just, I wasn't even sure if your show was still on right now. I was like, Linda might be asleep, so I was talking to her for a little bit, and then she was going to sleep, and then I said, well, I'm going to go back on YouTube, and then sure enough, the first video that popped up that YouTube recommended was like, Linda James is live. I'm like, oh,
Right on.
I'm going to go to this. I'm going to tune back in with you guys.
So both of those people you talked about on the show tonight, Culver City and Huntington Beach people, you have my permission to give them my phone number.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And that's another thing. We have to really make sure that, if I think somebody would be a good friend to Doreen, I need to check with Doreen before I hand out her number. We really need to not
Yeah, and that's what I did earlier, because I talked to Doreen a little bit before even Rick Farron started his show.
Mm-hmm.
Because she was asking me if just how I've been, and then about tomorrow, if I'm going to go to a little meetup in Burbank, and then I told her about that lady that I'm going to send her the lady's number, but if it's okay if I share it to the lady too.
Yeah.
And I think that's always nice, because once you get into contact, like if Joe and Fran send me somebody's number, they're always okay that they can just, I already gave them permission that if they feel okay to recommend somebody's number, that they could just automatically give them my number.
Yeah.
So I
That's good.
already know that if they recommend somebody, that they have my number. So I'm already expecting their text and that. And it just makes it a little easier when somebody texts you instead of getting a random text. You already know that, hey, JP told me about you and he thought, you know what I mean? So they'll text you like that. And it's just not like, hey, are you an XJW? Like, I've gotten text like that. It's like, yeah, where'd you get my number? Oh, it's from so and so. I'm like, who? Oh, yeah. I haven't talked to that person in a long time, but yeah, okay. Well, I'm okay with them giving my number, but I didn't know they were going to give me your number. But yeah, how's it going?
Yeah. And that's something the organization does not want. Is for us to connect with each other.
Exactly.
And they even have rules that disfellowshipped Jehovah's Witnesses are not even allowed to talk to other disfellowshipped Jehovah's Witnesses. I'm sorry.
I didn't die. Yeah.
Screw that. That's just how much they don't want people to connect.
Well, the reason why they would do that, Linda, because if you wanted to get back into Jehovah's organization, you would want to obey the rules. So even if you're disfellowship, if you're talking to somebody who's disfellowship, you're breaking the rules. And if they found out, you're not on the track to get back to getting reinstated.
Yep.
Oh, I know how it is.
Just to keep
And
you
it is a
isolated.
nightmare. I'll tell you, I've been disfellowship before and reinstated, and the whole reinstatement process was so much more stressful and so much of a bigger nightmare than it was getting disfellowship. Believe that or not.
Tell me more about that. Do you feel up to talking about it or no?
No, I can talk about it. What
What was
would
that
you
like?
want to?
Like after you were disfellowship for so long, how does that process work out?
Well, people go through different phases in order to become disfellowshipped. It's always usually they want you to do some type of a interrogation process. And if you've done the right sin, especially some sort of fornication, it doesn't matter how repentant you are, even contrary to the Bible, they're still going to disfellowship you.
Wow.
But the same thing happens to you when you get reinstated. For example, with me, I just couldn't get reinstated. I had to turn in my letter and I had to meet with a set of 3 elders 2 separate times in order for them to get my reinstatement process going. And it doesn't make any sense looking back on it now, but and basically both of those reinstatement process goes is you'll submit a letter to the elders and then they'll pick a time to meet with you, and these 3 elders that have already read over your letter, know what you got disfellowship for priorly, will meet with you, and then they'll review your letter as to pretty much interrogate you or ask you what your true intentions are, if your letter was truly meaningful, on returning to the organization. And then they'll pretty much want to find out, which is an investigative period, as to what you were doing when you were disfellowship. So when they kicked you out, they still want to know what you were doing when you were out. And honestly, Linda, I got disfellowship because I just didn't want to go, and I didn't really tell them much. And I was just like, I want out because I was a teenager and I just wanted to live my life. And I figured, like, if anything gets, because I was still a POMI, I was still physically out, mentally in, and my reasoning is a quote unquote what they would say a rebellious teenager at that time. I was just like, well, if anything looks a little shady on the world scene, I'll just come back to Jehovah's organization. But when
What
I
did they-
did come back later and I went through the reinstatement process, it was far worse than when I was disfellowship, far more humiliating.
Okay.
And I had to meet with these elders twice, and they wanted to know everything that I had ever done, every sin, from the day that I got disfellowship to the time that I returned, even till the prior weeks. And I admitted to them girlfriends that I had, whether it's fornication, and they wanted to get into the how, and I don't understand it now, because at the time I was disfellowshipped and I was trying to come back, but they wanted to know everything. Oh, you had a girlfriend, or you seen this lady? Oh, how long were you seeing her for? Oh, was there any fornication involved? I was like, yes. Oh, well, what was involved with that? And they wanted to get into the details and how much time. And is anybody else aware of this? Or are you still in contact with her? And where does she live now? And all this. And I was like, and I'm trying to get reinstated. And I asked the brother, I'm like, why are they asking me so many questions? I already submitted my letter and I repented and I've admitted all my sins, everything I did. And they said, okay, after all was said and done, they said, well, we'll have to meet with you one more time. And I was frustrated. I was like asking the brother, like, well, we just have to make sure that, you know, we keep Jehovah's organization clean and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, but I wasn't in it when I did all that stuff. So what does it even matter?
Good question. And what is the letter, you know, that you turn in? Like, what is that supposed to be like? What do they want the letter to? What do you put in the letter?
You know, it's funny. It's funny that you mentioned that, Linda, because I had no clue. But the elders just told me that if I wanted to get reinstated, that I would have to submit a letter requesting that. So I didn't even know what that meant. So I have a
Wow.
cousin who's an elder, and he's still an elder. But at that time, and I reached out to him and I wrote him and I asked him that I told him I wanted to get reinstated, that the elders told me that I have to submit a letter, you know, pretty much requesting that they will consider me to be reinstated. I said, what am I supposed to put in this letter? Like, I mean, besides saying I want to come back to Jehovah or to the organization, like, what do I put? And he pretty much wrote the letter for me, and then I submitted it to the elders. But it was pretty much to the extent that I had been regret that my sin for this, and that I have a desire to return to Jehovah's organization, and that I miss my family and the organization and the friends, and that I would like to work with the elders and the congregation in order to reestablish. That's one thing, reestablish my relationship with Jehovah.
Wow.
That was one thing. And he said, if you put that, he says, I guarantee you the brothers will, you know, you get reinstated a lot quicker. So he pretty much wrote the letter to me. Cause like you, Lynn, I'm like, what the hell do I do?
Right?
And
What
what
does this
do I need to tell these guys? Like, what is this? Like, I'm writing to Congress or to the White House? Like,
yes.
it was a pretty elaborate letter, and I probably have the correspondence that I was writing him, because this is about a little over, like, about 25 years ago. So a little after the year 2000, and we're writing just correspondence through the mail, because of course at the time he was shunning me, so I couldn't just call him. And then he could everything he wrote me in that letter, he could have told me in a 10-minute conversation.
Right.
And even encouraged me as an elder, which he is now, you know. But he couldn't do that. So I had to write him just to tell him that I desired to come back to the organization. And I was telling him that elders tell me that I need to submit a letter. I said, I don't know what to write. What does that actually mean? What should I put in that letter? And then he pretty much wrote the letter for me. And as I was writing the letter to the elders, I was reading his letter and just copying everything he was saying.
I'm glad, which is
So
the
that's the process of that, I don't know if everybody's the same, but I would love to hear other people if they've gone through the reinstatement process, because we hear so many XJW videos of what it was like to get disfellowshipped, or, so many hidden like cameras of people, getting disfellowship, elders meetings. But you don't hear so much about what the process is like to get reinstated. But I would say it's terrible. There's just as much admitting your sins and doing all that as it is when you're getting disfellowship. I would love to hear other people's experience of what they had to go through when to get reinstated. But to me, it was even more than getting disfellowship. They even put more stress. They wanted more details, inappropriate questions, everything that you would hear from a disfellowshipping session
Yeah.
is what I experienced just to get reinstated. So yeah, I would love to hear other people's experience in that. If you know, even if you ever wanted to make a show on that, it would be very interesting because I don't even think that's a topic that's ever been covered. And obviously nobody's gone with the hidden camera to go get the reinstatement meeting with the elders like they, when they're getting disfellowshipped. But basically what I can say is they ask you almost the exact same questions. They want to interrogate you and guilt trip you before they decide that they're going to reinstate you. And just because you meet with the elders one night doesn't always guarantee they're going to reinstate you. With me, I believe they met with me 3 times.
Oh my
And
God.
2 times were just interrogation things. And then the 3rd meeting was basically just them telling me that I was going to get reinstated. But this was all within like a 2-week period. Like they met with me one day during the week in the evening. I had to go to the Kingdom Hall.
Yeah.
And we probably talked for like 90 minutes to 2 hours. And then the second session was the same. And then they told me that they would let me know their decision. Same with disfellowshipping. Except I don't think it's like as clear, cut and dry as a disfellowshipping session. Because when they disfellowship you, they'll do it like in an evening if they really want to get you out of there. But to get reinstated, I had to meet with them a few times. I told them so much more about my life and everything that I ever did wrong when I was trying to get reinstated than when I was getting disfellowship. It was quite humiliating. And all these brothers were there with those legal yellow pads, taking notes, writing down everything that I was admitting, all my sins, everything. And I almost feel like going back to the Kingdom Hall, Linda, and just saying like, hey, everything that was written down on this file, I want my file back right now.
Yeah, that's a challenge to get your file back.
Yeah,
So-
they'll never do that.
Yeah. So the letter of reinstatement is a request, and then to add some regret, of the behavior, whatever that behavior was, and like some of the consequences you've experienced while you've been disfellowshipped, and how you would like to have your relationship reestablished with your family members, maybe even your JW friends, but even more so, your relationship with Jehovah reestablished.
Yeah, and to me, it's almost like blackmail how they do it with Scientology. They want you to write it out in writing and write out how you haven't had a good life, you have a desire to return to the organization, why you want to return. That's one thing that you have to put in the letter, is because, well, obviously you're going to put things aren't going so good in my life. I miss Jehovah's organization. I miss the friends. I would request, basically you're requesting the elders to meet with you to consider you to get reinstated.
It sounds like a begging to get your girlfriend back. Listen, honey, since we've been apart, I've been miserable. Every day I think of you all the time. I'm so sorry what I did. I promise you I'm not going to do it again. I really regret everything I ever said. Like that. Like that.
No, sadly, Linda, that's the way you describe it is exactly what that is.
Yeah.
That is
Like-
exactly the process that goes down to get reinstated back to the organization.
but without any dignity. Like you can go to a previous partner and be like, I screwed up. I was so wrong. I would really like us back together, apologizing. But they had you go even more. They set you down and questioned you for frickin' 2 hours. Twice. With every single detail.
Yeah.
It was humiliating. It was like, it's ugly. And then they're writing down this stuff.
They're writing it all down like attorneys. There's every little detail, and they're asking me more questions and questions. And it came to a point where I was getting reinstated, and I was like, what is this even, Matt? Because they were getting into details like, oh, like I had a girlfriend. Yeah, was there any fornication? Yes, there was. Oh, approximately how many times? Where did this fornication occur? What happened during it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, they want.
Was there
like,
protection? Was
detail.
there not protection used as far as like that? Does anybody else know? Where does this woman live? Does she still live locally? Is that somebody that somebody might know in the congregation that might bring reproach to the congregation? Or is that somebody that you might encounter in the field service if we reinstate you to where it might bring up, you know what I mean? Bring any kind of drama, you know what I mean? It was just so crazy.
Reproach upon
It's like,
Jehovah.
dude, you know what? You want me to just give you her address and number, and then you go interrogate her like you're the freaking CIA?
Yes.
Which you're not. You're just elders.
To me, it's inappropriate for good friends to ask these kinds of questions.
Exactly. Even just you wouldn't even tell that to your family.
To question you in a manner of you have to answer to me. That's just that's very dehumanizing, very degrading. They're in a position. It's an abuse of authority. Abuse of power and authority.
What it is, they're acting as the police.
Yeah.
And that if you stroke them, then you might get sentenced and charged with assault on an officer. I don't know if it would be that kind of criminal record.
I think we lost him, but I think you're right. It's like being interrogated by the police. And we have the mindset that if the police questions us, we're supposed to answer the questions that they ask, Welcome back. Welcome back.
Hey back.
Yeah, it's just insanity the way that what they put people through. It's just I don't think that this is something that's not covered so much in the XJW community, because a lot of us that got reinstated, that means we wanted to come back to the org. And so we were content with it. So a lot of people ended up getting disfellowship later. And that's when they either recorded their judicial committee or other things. But there's been so many people, whether they're ex-JW or even current JWs, that have had to go through the same experiences I have. And I tell you, one thing that really makes me mad, and this has nothing to do with the very personal fornication aspect of what I admitted to the elders when I was being reinstated. Those were very personal things in my life, things, intimate things that I would never even reveal to anybody except the person that I was involved with that with. Right. Not even our own closest friends or whatever.
Exactly.
So they really get into your personal information. But then even a few weeks, it wasn't even like 2 or 3 months, lo and behold, I was out in service with a group of brothers, and one of the elders' son, who was involved with my reinstatement committee, he, like a dumbass, went and slipped something that I said it wasn't bad or personal or anything that had to do with that fornication incident. It was just something that I mentioned I was involved with when I wasn't a witness. And he just nonchalant, we're just talking, and then he was just talking about it like he was like his dad. And we were
Wow.
talking, and I was like, wait a minute, how'd you know that? And he literally covered his mouth and couldn't say anything. And I said,
Whoa.
George told you that, huh? Your dad, George?
Wow.
I said, you heard? I said, and he's like, he was trying to say, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, I was like, shut up, Jonathan. I said, your dad, George, was in my judicial committee or my reinstatement committee. Did he repeat that at your dining table with you and your mom? Or tell that to you to like get closer to me? I said, what the hell? And he said, I've never heard that in my life. I said, bullshit.
You guys just talked
Don't
about
try to, you're not going to say something so specific about me and bring it up in the field service group, and you're just going to try to play it off. And I said, your dad was saying, spilling everything in my reinstatement, everything I admitted to those elders. He was pretty much talking about it at a dinner with his wife and kids, which is what most elders do.
I heard that's what I hear, but we're told it's confidential. We're told that it doesn't get out. It doesn't go out of that room. What's said there stays there.
Yeah, so that showed me a lot with that. That's all I wanted to say with that experience with getting reinstatement. It is just as bad as getting this fellowship, except in that case, you're not going to lose your family. You're probably going to get some back, but they still want you to admit everything. It's just like Scientology. They get all this dirt on you to blackmail you later. That's almost what it seems like. I don't understand that. Jesus never required that. None of the apostles in the Bible for a judicial committee. It's nowhere in the Bible where these guys are writing down. It never said, oh, you're going to have a judicial committee in the book of Acts, and they're going to be writing down everybody's stuff on these scrolls, and they're going to save it in this file cabinet,
With Nixium, it was called collateral.
Yeah.
They would literally have people write out things that they have done that were very private, or else they'd make up stuff that they'd done, and they'd be able to use that as collateral to later blackmail them. That sucks. I'm sorry to hear you went through that. That's so wrong.
What that's like is you were being interrogated and convicted and sentenced for a DUI crime.
Yeah, I felt like something like that, Dallas. I can't even explain it because at the time, I was raised as a JW. I was kicked out. I wanted back in. So I just thought that this was how things go. I thought that was normal until I woke up.
Yeah.
I realized I was like, not only one did they violate my personal space, and even to some extent, maybe my constitutional rights to entrapment and pushing people into things that they don't want to say. I don't even know. But they definitely violated at least my human rights by getting me to admit all that. But at the time, I didn't realize it until I finally woke up.
Well, sure. Yeah.
But now
It's,
the only thing you could do now is just warn other people. I mean, I would love to get my records back, but they're never going to give them back to us,
that's true.
and
Yeah.
it's just not worth all the time. But
I've heard stories of challenges of people trying to get reinstated for years. Years. And it just amounts to, or what it looks like to me is on those occasions, and just like they want you to come crawling back to them and to humiliate yourself, to beg them. And they have the power to whether or not you live or die spiritually. And that's just a horrible abuse of power and or authority. It's really awful.
yeah,
And
definitely.
you're taught that during that time of being disfellowshipped, that if you die, you will not make it to paradise. You will be cast into outer darkness. Pretty sad. It's very sad. Yvonne is here. Yay. The Grow says, if I ever get DF'd, I'm not getting reinstated for anyone. I love it. Yvonne is like, Yvonne says, John 8, he who has no sin, throw the first stone. I'm told they are taking that out of the Bible. That's true. Yeah, complete control. Hello. Last week, by the end of the show, I was fading, and she was like, "You need to eat protein. Get the fucking protein." I looked at that, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay." And then I ended the show. Thank you, Yvonne. Thank you for looking out for me. And she could tell I was at. I think she had even asked me earlier in the chat, "Are you okay?" So she could see the difference in me. I was talking to Gilbert Gonzalez. Yeah.
I love Gilbert and Jesse. I just do.
I do too. Even when I don't agree with the stuff they say.
And it's because you can understand them much because they're the group or heritage that you grew up around.
Yeah. And they have kind of this joking around camaraderie thing that they do. Fun to watch. That's cool. You remembered that. Thank you. I'm thinking I'm going to cut this short because I have to go potty. And I'm geriatric, which means I have a geriatric bladder. And the show's going to end in 15 minutes anyway, so I'm just going to say goodnight now. So next week, I'm thinking that I don't know if I'm going to have a show next Saturday night or not. Next Saturday will be that convention, and Rick does plan to live stream it, and it will be over with by the time my show starts. So I'm not sure if I'm going to have a show or not. I'll put out a flyer either way.
And okay, go ahead.
Oh, Linda, you have a few parts, or are you going to give some kind of a presentation or something at Rick's show?
Yeah, I'm putting together a video, and think I'm going to send a song.
Is that on Saturday?
I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure what day. Yeah, I think on Saturday.
Are you gonna do the? You should give your talk thing, and then are you gonna have a slot in the Apostates Got Talent?
I think so.
Yeah, I hope to see him. But I hope you give a talk where you talk, and then later you show up for Apostates Got Talent. But yeah, I think you should. Since you're gonna be speaking on his program that night, and then you're probably gonna be singing later that night. Yeah, you might just want to rest and that.
I'm not going to be there in person, unfortunately. So I'll be piped
Yeah,
in
neither
through
am I.
his 6 screen. So, I mean, the StreamYard.
Yeah, you need to go there and give it your little give some kind of a talk or speech, whatever he's going to give you a slot. But I would love to hear you sing because you do sing. You have a great voice, and
Thank you.
you're the karaoke queen. So I don't know if you're going to do some original or you just. If you do that for his show, are you just gonna karaoke a song, or are you gonna do some original?
I don't have any originals. I have a couple of gospel tunes and a couple of like secular songs, like Sarah Smile, and I think Get Here by Alita Adams.
You hear that rockabilly guy earlier on the show?
Yes.
That guy was awesome.
Yes, and I looked up his band on Bandcamp. Yeah, I'm looking forward to listening to it.
Yeah, if he does that Viva Las Vegas show next year, I'll go out to Vegas to see him because that's a big like rockabilly festival that they have once a year in Las Vegas.
Okay.
It's like a lot of like rockabilly music, like modern bands, but they're influenced by like 50s style type of music. And there's
Yeah.
like a lot of oldie cars and stuff. It's a car show and music festival. It's really cool.
It is.
But if you were to go out there from Australia and his band were, on the set for the Viva Las Vegas show, I would definitely go out there and just to go see him because it'll be from Arizona, and that's a pretty cool show, anyways. On Vegas that they have annually, so. It would just be an extra reason to go out there because there's a apostate playing in a band, and they're from Australia.
I know. I'm hoping to buy his music and through Riverband. Am I saying it right? Yeah. Riverband.
Yeah, the bandwagon, or what is it? I'll have to look at it. He said it on the show earlier.
And then I'm going to ask him if I can use it as bumper music. See what he says.
Heck yeah, why not?
Oh,
That's really cool.
XJW Curious says, can't forget my single, I Want to Be Famous. That's from XJW Curious. That's from Peter, and he sings it well. Rockabilly is I like that Frank that we're talking about earlier. He played a song live, really nice sound to him, and then they played a video of him, and he's doing that stand-up bass. The big old stand-up bass thing. It was pretty cool. Or one of them was doing a stand-up bass. I'm not sure which one. But yeah, that's a cool style. So I'm going to say goodnight. Is there something you want to share before I say goodnight, Dallas?
Don't. Other than that, Shaq, he had so much to share. He did. He had quite the story right there.
Yeah, people don't realize what that is like to get reinstated, how challenging that can be. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, actually. I appreciate that. How about you, JP? Did you want to say something before I say goodnight?
Nothing much. I just wanted to come back in and thank you for letting me tell a few stories tonight and just give my perspective on and my experience on some of the things that I've gone through, especially with getting reinstated. And earlier when I was telling that story about my cousin, that's always funny. I always talk to her about that when we chat, but
I
I
like
haven't
her.
talked to her since I woke up, so I'm sure she'll be more than thrilled when we meet up again and hang out with each other. Because she knows I love her so much, just to never shun her and be her cousin, even though she was never a witness or baptized. But my whole family looked down because she was just, and she's still so outspoken about the religion. She's just like, this is just such a cult. You guys are foolish.
Wow.
And that's just so. And she was saying stuff like that when she was 12.
My mother would
Like in
have
the
that.
early 90s, late 80s. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm impressed with her that
yeah. So,
she could talk like
but no, thank you for letting me tell a few stories and just get a little bit of my experience and some of that stuff. And I hope you have a good night. Thanks for having the show tonight.
Thank
I
you.
remember Rick saying he placed up signs and some of them took the signs down, tore them down.
Yeah, I heard him say that too. And yeah,
Not surprising.
And that hope I'd rather be at, if I could make it, I'd rather be at his convention. I certainly don't want to be at that. Sometimes that pure wickedness or pure evil convention. In fact, I'd like to get my hands on that microphone and say that those leaders are condemned to hell,
well, that would be a good time.
or say go to hell, Steve.
Well, I don't think they're gonna take down. You seen that big banner that he's gonna put on a big like diesel truck or something? Saw that, Linda?
Yeah.
He's gonna drive that. Well, I think tomorrow and Monday around town. I don't think the JWs are gonna be running up to that truck and pulling off the sign on that. That when Rick did that, I was like, wow, Ricky Farron is going big, you know.
And he
My
just
brother
recently
Rick.
moved. I don't think he moved
Papa Rick,
far.
I call him Papa Rick because he's old enough to be my dad. He's like the old school apostate.
Yeah.
He's more of a traditional ex-JW apostate.
I think
But he is the pioneer. He is one of the original pioneers of it.
Yeah, he is.
He is one of the ones that woke up after being in 50 years. And there have ones been, if you ever heard, I saw some on YouTube that woke up later than him.
Yep.
If you remember one, Joel Christie and his wife, he was 89 and he woke up.
Wow.
Remember him?
I don't.
And we got Discord accounts. We can share certain things.
Okay. Also, Cultastic. Her name is Ryan. She made a cool little top out of like curtains. So go check out her channel and see the little top she made out of curtains. It's really cool. Yeah, go over there and tell her I said hi.
Will do.
And
Thanks,
thank you,
Linda.
everyone.
And
You're welcome.
thanks, Linda and
It's good to
Dallas.
have
Love you.
here.
Love you guys.
Y'all too.
I love you too.
Y'all take it easy, like Dallas would say.
Okay.
And you see, I live on Eastern time, which is all right.
You stayed up later. Thank you for doing that.
It's just different time zone.
Yeah, it is. Everyone that showed up today, thank you for showing up. And anybody that listens to this later on, thank you for listening to this. And I appreciate you very much. This is truly the highlight of my week. And I and looking forward to seeing you next weekend. If I decide not to do the show because of the convention of Stay Alive till 85, Stay Alive. You know what I'm talking about. Stay Alive till 2025, which is
2025.
Yes.
Not 1925.
You're
And
right.
certainly not 1975.
Yep. This is actually 50 years from 1975. Pretty monumental.
It is right on.
If I end up choosing not to do the show, I'll put out flyers that I will be doing the show next Saturday. So I will catch y'all next time. Either it'll be next weekend or the weekend after. So good night, everyone.
Good night, y'all.
Good night.
And take care, y'all.
I never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm reading.